Hello again. So now it's time to download the vCenter Servers appliance from the VMware website as the same as we do to download the ESXi and the vCenter Server. We're going to the same page to download the vCenter Servers appliance. So if you remember this page, here we download the ESXi, then we have the vCenter Server. If you remember this one that we download in the previous section. And for the vCenter server for Linux, you click on this tab right here, and you see that we have VMware vCenter server appliance with the word appliance. You see the version date, the version, and the size of this ISO image, and you click manually download. Of course, you need to log to your account to start downloading the evolution version. Then when you download the ISO image, this is the one, you extract the file from this ISO image right here. You see this file right here is from the ISO image. This is the content of this ISO image. You can extract it or you burn it inside a DVD driver. Then now you have two options to install or to deploy the vCenter server inside a host or a virtual machine. If you want to install inside a virtual machine, you need to have already an ESXi powered on. So this vCenter will connect to the ESXi and install the vCenter server appliance. So the idea here is that the vCenter server appliance is a build machine already pre-installed and pre-configured. The first option is to deploy the virtual machine that's already pre-installed and pre-configured of the vCenter server appliance inside your ESXi host or your server host. So to do that, if you check the folder right here, we have some folder right here and we have the VCSA and VCSI installer and the user interface installer. So the first option is to deploy the OVF. As you will see here, this is OVF file. This is the size about 2.39 gigabytes. So to deploy this virtual machine that have the vCenter server appliance built it on a Linux version, you can go to your ESXi host and try to create a new virtual machine and choose deploy a virtual machine from an OVA or OVF file. If you will follow the step, it will ask you the name of the machine and you need to drag that OVF file inside this one. Let's do it like that. So if we drag and drop the machine right here, it will detect it. And of course, we can give it the name VSCA. Next, and he will ask you for the storage. Then the license of the vCenter servers appliance. You must agree, of course. I agree. And I agree. Next. Then it asks you for the network and the tiny vCenter service with update PSC. Here you choose the type of your environment for the tiny, the small, medium, large, etc. So by choosing the type of the deployment, he will configure the hardware necessary for any of those type. So for example, tiny it will take about 10. As you will see here, this will deploy a tiny VM configured with 2 CPU and 10 gigabytes and Rockway 2015 gigabytes of disk space. This option contains vCenter server with an update platform service controller for managing up to 10 hosts and 100 virtual machine. So of course, if you chose the small, it gives you 4 CPU and 16 gigabytes, how much manage host and how much virtual machine. Then, for example, X large VM, 24 CPU, 48 gigabytes of memory, and how much space, etc. This option contains vCenter Service Appliance server with an update platform service control up to 2000 hosts and 35 virtual machine, etc. So you chose the version that you want to deploy and it will configure it automatically the hardware necessary. So click next. Here it asks you for the password. Of course, if you want to configure the network about the IP, which see it in the user interface, the password, the config password, the system configuration. This is the single sign-on configuration, and this is for the system configuration. This one is for the operation system, and this one for the single sign-on to get access to the vCenter servers and some other information. Then when you click next, it will start deploying the virtual machine. Of course, we don't going to do that, no, because we're going to use the second option. So after completing the installation, you power on the virtual machine. You will see that a new virtual machine created right here. You power it on and you start using it. So in the next video, we'll use the second option, through the user interface, and we'll install the vCenter server inside this ESXi with the second option. So see you in the next video.